My name is Chung Dha, and today I'm reviewing the 28mm f2 by Vivitar. However, it's actually built by, there are actually three different kinds by three different manufacturers. Here in front of the camera is a Kiron build. You can actually tell which build it is by actually looking at the shape, but also from the series numbers. This number or this lens starts with a 22, and which means it's a Kiron build. Yeah, it's a nice old lens. It's a manual lens. However, there are a few things that are not that great about it. The focus ring, you have to dial from the closest focus to the infinity. You have to turn about 270 degrees. So it's quite hard to rack focus from the closest focus to the most farthest at infinity. So it's a bit hard to do rack focus. Might be recommended to buy a follow focus with gearings, changing the turn to a slightly bigger degrees. There are also different mounts you can buy. There is a Minolta A mount, which can also be placed onto a new Sony DSLR, which also has the A mount. You have also the Nikon mount and also the Pentax K mount. With those two, you can actually add an adapter and place it onto a Canon 60D, 600D, 550D or 7D. Mostly lenses with or cameras with a crop frame. With a full frame like the 5D, you do need a make some adaptation to the lens if it's a Pentax mount. If it's a Nikon mount, you can also just place it on a brand new Nikon. However, you have to see if it's possible to also do it on the full frame. For filming, it's actually quite a great lens. However, it is a bit soft while wide open, and there is a very nice actually glare with this lens. There's a kind of rainbow-like glare, and from using it, yeah, it's an old manual lens, so it does not have autofocus, so you have to use different tricks to help you with focusing. And yeah, it's also a quite light lens. You can use it on a Hake MMC to use as on a Steadicam without having to add a lot of extra weight. Yeah, only con really with this lens is that it's really hard to turn from infinity to the closest focus. I'm now filming myself with the 28mm f2. It's around 3 meters from me, and the shutter speed is now set on high instead of adding ND filters, because ND filters does make the lens a bit more softer and actually lose a bit of the quality. But yeah, using the lens like this with high shutter speed is not a big problem when you're doing an interview and the people are not moving a lot. However, if I'm waving, you will see that my hands look really shocky, and it's a bit of a horrible effect to look at normally when doing a normal kind of action. However, if it's really a action scene with people fighting, it might be a more interesting effect. Yeah, the use of a 28mm f2 to get this infinite, or to get this depth of field, you have to place your subject before the lens gets into infinity. I'm actually standing 3 meters from the camera, and the infinity of this lens is actually at 8 meters. So everything between 8 meters from your camera, you will be able to get a bit of depth of field. And anything further, it will be everything in focus. Using the 28mm is actually still quite nice depth of field using it f2. I'm not sure if you find me being a bit soft or not, or actually being more Yeah, that's a truck passing by, but the 28mm is actually quite nice to film these kinds of shots or interviews or anything else, because you can actually set the camera pretty close to your subject and get a nice wide shot instead of using a 50mm, which does get more depth of field because the infinity is much further away, around 20 meters. However, the problem is that your subjects also have to stand further away from the camera to get the same framing. So the 28mm I do recommend if you use a crop frame to buy a 28mm. From testing the 28mm f2, the closest focus is actually around 26 centimeters from the lens mount. The on the lens itself it actually says from 30 centimeters. The lens is pretty soft, or while wide open is a bit soft in the corners and also has a slight deformation in the corners. And it's not really a big problem that the corners are a bit soft and deformed. However, you don't really notice it unless you are really filming at a very flat wall with all kinds of bricks. However, yeah, if you're just filming a scene like this, you won't really notice that the corners are a bit deformed, and it's not an extreme deformation like a fish eye. The lens is a bit soft while wide open. However, if you use a CPL, it actually lessens it. Actually, when things are overexposed, it will have a softness glow because of the overexposure when used wide open. However, if you dial in the aperture ring to f4, everything will be much sharper and the softness glow will actually disappear. Also, the certain glare will disappear or will have less of a extreme glare. However, the glare on this lens is actually quite astonishing and quite beautiful because it's a kind of rainbow circle glare, which actually is a very interesting effect, which is a bit hard to replicate, and it might be an interesting effect to use at certain movies or films. If you think this lens might be something for you, but you don't know it yet, you might want to try also the 28mm f2.8, or actually try out using your kit lens and zoom in at 28 and try to see if you like to use it at 28mm, or that you actually want to maybe use a 50mm, because 50mm are mostly much faster. However, you can find a 35mm f1.4. However, the price differences are quite big because you can get this one for very cheap if you're really lucky, but mainly the price for this is around 200 euros or 200 US dollars plus minus 50. However, you can also get like 35mm f1.4. However, those you probably need to spend the double of this, and for a 28mm f2.8 you'll probably just be paying like 10 bucks or even less if you're really lucky. But I have to say, yeah, I quite like this lens, and it's a nice, simple, compact lens, does not scare people away, and it also is a small lens, pretty great to use on a Steadicam, unlike the brand new Sigma that I have, which is really big and heavy and it's harder to use on a Steadicam or need to add a lot of weight to balance it. The Vivitar 28f2 is actually a quite nice lens to use. It's actually equivalent to a 50mm on a crop frame, and on a full frame it's the actual 28mm. However, the lens is a bit soft when there is certain overexposure, and also use wide open. However, it does have a nice rainbow flare. Considering the price around $200, it's quite expensive. But you can also like get a second-hand 28 f1.8 from Sigma, which is also around that price. However, you might consider this because it's much smaller and it's less of a scary lens to people thinking you're using a big lens, and also makes your camera looks like a less extreme of a DSLR, which is a lot of great thing actually. And the biggest con is the focus ring, because you have to turn it 270 degrees to go to infinity. And yeah, for the rest, it's a nice it's a really nice lens to have. So if you have any questions or any remarks, please comment below. There will be a link to the blog post below too, so you can read and view all kinds of pictures shot with this lens, and also other videos. And yeah, if you really like to see more videos of mine, please subscribe below and please click the like button or the thumbs up, and see you next time. Bye.